بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. We continue the explanation of the 40 Nawawi collection of hadith, and we have reached hadith number 31 عن أبي العباس سعد بن سهل الساعدي رضي الله عنه قال: جاء رجل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال: يا رسول الله، دلني على عمل إذا عملته أحبني الله وأحبني الناس، أحبني الله وأحبني الناس. فقال: ازهد في الدنيا يحبك الله، فقال: ازهد في الدنيا يحبك الله، وازهد فيما عند الناس يحبك الناس. حديث حسن رواه ابن ماجة وغيره بأسانيد حسنة. On the authority of Sahl bin Sa'd al-Sa'idi radiallahu anhu قال: a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, O Messenger of Allah, direct me to an act which, if I do it, will cause Allah to love me and people to love me. He said, renounce the world and Allah will love you, and renounce what people possess and people will love you. This is a fine hadith, a good hadith by Ibn Majah and others with good chain of authorities. جاء رجل, a man came, and he did not specify the name of this man. There is no need to that, and we should not exert too much effort and waste time to know who was this man. And this occurs in many narrations. Except, of course, if the knowledge of this person may change the ruling. Then in this case, it's a must to know the name of the man or the person. So he asked him, O Messenger of Allah, direct me to an act which, if I do it, حبني الله وأحبني الناس. So this man asked for two things, two great matters. First, the love of Allah, then the love of people. So the Prophet ﷺ guided him to do certain specific things. He told him, izhad fi dunya, renounce the world. Izhad. Az-zuhd, zuhdun fi dunya, zuhd regarding this life. It means abandonment of that which is of no benefit in the hereafter. This is the meaning of renunciation of the world. Abandonment of that which is of no benefit in the hereafter. This is the meaning of zuhd. This is the correct meaning of zuhd. Subsistence from that which is of no benefit in the hereafter, so that the person takes from it that which will be of a benefit in the hereafter. And this is a degree which is higher than wara'. This is a degree, zuhd is higher than wara'. What is wara'? Wara', absistence from what's harmful of the worldly things. Absistence from what's harmful of worldly things. This is the meaning of wara'. And zuhd is a higher level than wara'. Because wara' meaning absistence from that which is harmful in this world, while zuhd means absistence from that which is of no benefit, absistence from that which has no benefit in the hereafter. And subsistence of that which is no benefit is greater than subsistence of what is harmful. So therefore, in zuhd, the person stays away of that which is of no benefit, and in however the wara', he will do what is permissible but keeps away from what's harmful. So Zuhd therefore is higher in level. Zuhd therefore is higher in level. What is the meaning of dunya? The Prophet ﷺ said, Izhad fi dunya. What's the meaning of dunya here? Dunya is this life. This is this abode, this temporal abode. It is called dunya from two angles. Dunya fi zaman, dunya meaning low in time, because it comes before the hereafter. The second is dunya fil martaba, lower in rank, because it's lower in rank than that of the hereafter, much lower. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said in the hadith reported by Ahmad and al-Bukhari, لموضع صوت أحدكم في الجنة خير من الدنيا وما فيها. A place in paradise as small as that occupied by the whip of one of you is better than this world and what's in it. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم in the hadith reported by Muslim, ركعتا الفجر خير من الدنيا وما فيها. The 2 rak'ah of Fajr is better than this world and what's in it, because this life is nothing in fact. And that's why you don't find, you don't find it to be consistent. It's up and down, happiness and sorrow. Then he told him as to the way he can attain the love of people. He said to him, وَازْهَدْ فِي مَا عِنْدَ النَّاسِ يُحِبُّكَ النَّاسِ. Meaning, don't look towards their possessions and desire that they will love you. And this comprises staying away from asking people. Don't ask them for anything, because if you ask them, you will burden them. They will feel burdened, and you will be low relevant to them, because the upper hand, the upper giving hand, is better than the lower receiving hand. From the benefits of this hadith, first, the high motivation of the companions radiallahu anhum. Rarely you find their questions except that they are centered upon that which is beneficial in this life and the hereafter, or for both. So this is their focus. Their questions are directed on that which is good for this life and the hereafter, and for both. In this case, it's obvious what they asked for. But when they ask questions, do they ask it only to achieve information or get the information, or to be knowledgeable and act upon it? Certainly the latter. In contrast to many people in our times, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we don't become like them and that we are not from them. They ask about the ruling only to know the ruling. And that's why you see them going from a alim to a alim until they rest and settle on the fatwa of the alim which suits their desires. Nevertheless, they can take it with motivation, and they also may take it with laziness. The second benefit إثبات محبة الله عز وجل, affirming the attribute of love to Allah, that it is His quality and that He truly loves, and this is a real and true quality of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it like our love? The answer is no. The love of Allah, His love of us, is unlike our love of Him. His is much greater and more magnificent. We feel and know that the causes of love are diverse. And that love follows these causes and then assume manners fitting to these causes. Then what about the love of the Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We cannot comprehend. Now we do love to eat, and we also love to eat some certain things if present, certain kinds of food. Similarly with respect to drinks, and we also love to sit with companions, friends. We love the parents, we love the woman, and these matters of love, in their nature and their how, they are different. So the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us, His love of us, is unlike our love of Him. His is greater, but it is real. And the people of denial, the people of ta'til, who judge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by their intellect and say that what agrees with our intellect concerning Allah's attributes we affirm, otherwise we don't, and they have their foundation saying what is established intellectually regarding the attributes of Allah we affirm, and what opposes our intellect we negate. And they say that we cannot affirm until the intellect attests to its affirmation. Some of them, however, refrained, and those who refrained are closer to piety. Still, however, they did not take the path of piety, because the path of piety is that we affirm what Allah affirmed to Himself, whether our intellect comprehends that or not, and that we negate that which Allah negated of Himself in the absolute sense, whether this is affirmed intellectually or otherwise, and also whether our intellect did not neither affirm nor denied. Then in this case we know, or we must submit rather, that whatever Allah affirmed to Himself or negated of Himself, then that must be the reality concerning Himself and His attributes. And accordingly, the love of Allah, His love of His slaves, the believers, is affirmed in the Quran and the Sunnah, and also by the consensus of the As-Salaf al-Salih, the righteous predecessors. قال الله تعالى in Surah Al-Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 54, فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. Verse 54, قال الله تعالى فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. Allah will bring a people whom He will love and they will love Him. And also in Surah At-Tawbah verse 4, chapter 9 verse 4, إن الله يحب المتقين. Surely Allah loves al-muttaqeen, the pious and the righteous. And in Surah As-Saf verse 4, 61 verse 4, إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا. Verily Allah loves those who fight in His cause in rows, ranks, as if they were a solid structure. So these people who call themselves the intellectuals, the people who, or people of reasoning, they judged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to their reasons and said that Mahabbatullah, the love of Allah, means إثابته على العمل, His reward for good deeds is the reward that He gives. So in response we say that this reward is entailed by love. This reward is entailed by love. Love entails the reward. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not reward something unless He loves it. And therefore the intellect cannot stand therefore to substantiate this argument by saying that what's intended by love is the reward for good deeds. And therefore if we use the intellect will be an evidence against their intellect. And accordingly we must affirm the love as true love. So if they deny al-mahabba, love, and say that Allah does not love, so they belie the Quran in this way. And that's why we say denying the reality of the attributes, that they are true, if it is due to belying and denial, then this is kufr, and this would be kufr, disbelief. However, if it is due to ta'wil, distorted misinterpretation, then this needs to be detailed. If this ta'wil has some merit from the language, then the person does not become a disbeliever. Rather, he opposes the way of the Salaf, and thus he would be a fasiq, a mubtada', disobedient innovator. And if this ta'wil has no merit to it, it will not be accepted whatsoever from him. So that's why the scholars said concerning the oath, if someone says, Wallahi la ashtari al-khubz, just to give an example on this issue of ta'wil when it may be accepted or rejected. If someone says, Wallahi la ashtari al-khubz, by Allah I will not buy bread, but then he went and bought bread, so we tell him, you must expiate your oath. He says, no, what I intended by bread is the garment. The garment, this is not acceptable from him, because this has no merit whatsoever to language, unrelated, has no way in language. However, if he makes the oath and says, Wallahi la anamu illa ala firash. So if he says, Wallahi la anamu illa ala firash, by Allah, I will not sleep except on a resting place. Then he goes to the desert and sleeps there. You didn't have a bed. So we say you broke your oath because you didn't sleep on a bed, a resting place. He said, what I intended by the bed is the earth. Is the earth. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:2, الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فِرَاشًا. Here use the term firash. And firash is known as is like the bed or the mattress. And I used the earth as my bed. In this case, it is acceptable from him, because this has its way in the language. This is allowable in the language. Now you understand the example now, how it differed from the first one? Is that clear? طيب. على كل حال, nevertheless, the safest way and the way of good manners with Allah and good etiquette with Allah and the way of wisdom is that we affirm to Allah what Allah affirms to himself, whether we comprehend it by our intellect or we don't, and that we deny what Allah denied from himself, whether that is comprehended by our intellect or otherwise, and that we keep silent regarding that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept silent about. This is the path of the Salaf, rahimahumullah. The third benefit, there is no harm for the person to seek the love of people, meaning for them to love him, whether they are Muslims or Kafirs. Meaning we say there is no harm to seek the love of the Kafirs for the person seeking their love. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in Surah Al-Mumtahina, verse 8, 60 verse 8, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. Allah does not forbid you to deal justly and kindly with those who fought not against you on account of the deen of religion and did not drive you out of your homes. Verily Allah loves those who deal with equity. So we know that if he deals with them justly and kindly with gifts and charity, then they will love him. And if he deals with them justly, they will love him. What is forbidden is that you love them. What is forbidden is that you love them. And that's why it came in the hadith, even though the hadith is weak, that when the Prophet ﷺ, when he would come to a town, he would say, Allahumma habbibna ila ahliha. Now, Allahumma habbibna ila ahliha. May Allah, O Allah, make us beloved to its people. Make them love us. وحبب صالحي أهلها إلينا. And make us love the righteous of its people. The righteous amongst them. So when he intended the love that originates from him, he said صالحي أهلها. He restricted the righteous of its people. And when he intended the love originating from people, he said, make us beloved to them. You see the difference? You see the difference? Now, the fourth merit, or the fourth benefit, the merit of having absistence from this life, abandoning that which is of no benefit in the hereafter. And this does not mean that the person does not put, it doesn't mean that you don't put nice clothes, and it doesn't mean that you don't ride a nice car, and then you go live rough life, you eat bread without soup and the like. However, the person enjoys what Allah bestowed upon him, because Allah loves to see the impact of His favor upon him, upon his slave. So if the person enjoys through this way, then this is beneficial for him in the hereafter. And that's why you shouldn't really be deceived with people who pretend to have rough life, putting on the worst clothes, bad clothes, because snakes are under straw. Snakes are under straw. Maybe. Rather, you should look for his actions and his conditions. Snakes may be under straw. The next benefit, Zuhd may be higher than wara', and we learned what is wara', is abandoning what's harmful from the matters of this life. And the next benefit is that the zuhd is from the causes that brings the love of Allah Azza wa Jal, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Izhad fi dunya yuhibbak Allah." Have zuhd in this life, Allah will love you. And from the greatest causes leading to the love of Allah is following the Prophet ﷺ, as Allah the Most High states in Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 31. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ. The next benefit is the incitement to not seek what's with people, because the Prophet ﷺ considered this to be a cause for people loving you. And this includes that you don't ask them anything, that you don't look for and don't pretend that you want such and such from them. Like, for example, you see with some person something which you like, from a pen or a watch, and you say to him, "This is a good watch. Shouldn't you give it to me as a gift?" And the Prophet ﷺ, and you know, when you give gifts, you achieve love amongst each other, and will give him admonitions in order to take this watch from him. Now, if this person is smart, he would tell him, "You too, give me your watch as a gift," and will bring him the textual proofs. So asking people for that which they have is no doubt that it is from the causes which can remove love, because people are burdened by this and consider it strange and look down upon the people who do that, and the upper hand is better than the lower hand. Another example, you hint that you need something. For example, you say, you see this pen with him and you say, MashaAllah, this pen with you, Mumtaz, excellent, I wish I could find something like it. This is like you are telling him, give it to me. This is like you're telling him, give it to me. So you have to deter someone like this. If he says this to you, tell him, go to the market. And I don't like people who go down to this extent. Leave yourself honorable and don't humiliate it. Here, however, there is a case that if you know from your friend that if you ask him something, then he will be pleased. So, should you ask him in this case? The answer is yes. And when the Prophet ﷺ saw the meat on the fire, he asked, so they said, this is a meat, this is a sadaqah on behalf of Barira. So he said, and to us it is a gift. Because we know with certainty that Barira radiallahu ta'ala anha would love and would be happy. So if in case that your request makes your companion pleased and happy for asking him for that, then there is no harm in this. Wallahu ta'ala al-muwaffiq. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And this brings the end of this hadith, hadith 31. We go to the next hadith, hadith 32. عن أبي سعيد سعد بن مالك بن سنان الخدري رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا ضرر ولا ضرار. لا ضرر ولا ضرار. There should be neither harming nor reciprocating harm. A fine hadith. رواه ابن ماجه والدارقطني وغيرهما مسندا. A fine hadith related by Ibn Majah and Daraqutni and others. Musnad, meaning with a chain of narration, and not disconnected. And Malik reported in Muwatta Mursal from Amr bin Yahya from his father, from the Prophet ﷺ. So he dropped Abu Sa'id. And it has other narrations strengthening each other. Here in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, La darar. Darar, harm, known. And this could be in the body, in the wealth, be the children, it could be in cattle, it could be in anything other than that. This is the darar. This is the harm. And wala dirar. The difference between darar goes on and may occur unintentionally, unintended. However, the dirar, it is due to intent. It is intended. Example, a person has a neighbor and he has a tree which he irrigates each day. Suddenly the water enters the property of his neighbor and causes harm. But he didn't know. So this is called darar. darar, harm, but unintentional. Another example. There is a misunderstanding between a person and his neighbor. So he says, I shall do something which will harm him. So he turned on a motor engine with a loud noise next to his door, next to his wall which separates the two houses. And he intends therefore to harm his neighbor. This is called, he is now intending this is called dirar. And it is known that in the case of the unintentional, if he becomes aware, he will stop it, unlike the intentional harm. This hadith is a great foundation regarding many things, many matters of deen, especially in transactions, trade, selling, buying, and in pawning, pledging in security. Similarly, in marriage contracts, a person harming his wife and she reciprocating the harm, or harming her husband. Similarly, in terms of bequest, a person may bequest intending to harm the heirs. So the foundation, therefore, when this intentional type of harm occurs, or when the unintentional harm rather occurs, then it must be stopped and lifted. And when the intentional harm occurs, then it's a must also to lift, yet with a punishment on the one who intends it. That's the difference between the two, as you can see. And an example, in the Jahiliyyah before Islam, the man will divorce his wife, and when she is about to finish her waiting period, he returns her to marriage. يراجعها. Then he divorces her another time, and when she is about to finish her waiting period, he returns her to marriage. So he does this the third, the fourth. Why? Because he intends to cause harm. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now stopped that and limited it to 3 divorces. He stopped it and limited the divorce to 3. Another example, a person divorces his wife and she has children. Their custody and caring is for the mother unless she gets married. And she intends to get married, but she fears that if she gets married, he will take the children. So you will find him now threatening her. He will tell her now, if you get married, I will take your children. I will take the children. While he really has no desire for the children, and he doesn't want them. And if he takes them, they will be lost. However, what he intends is inflicting harm and preventing her from marriage. That's what he wants. There is no doubt that this is haram and this is forbidden, and this is transgression against her. Yani, some may do this to the extent that even if she gets married, there is no doubt that this is haram. Another example, a person bequests to another person, giving him half of his wealth. Why? So that he diminishes the shares of his heirs. This is forbidden. even though the ayahs can nullify what exceeds the third of the wealth, if it is to be given as a bequest. The maximum is 1/3. So a person bequests to another person, giving him half of his wealth so that he diminishes the shares of his ayahs. This is forbidden, even though the ayah can nullify what exceeds 1/3 of the wealth if it is given in bequest. Another example, a person has a first cousin but remote. He is the only ayah, so he intends to inflict harm upon him, and therefore he bequests 1/3 of his wealth so that his cousin remote does not take, the remote cousin does not take the money. This is forbidden. And if we follow this hadith, our errors will be rectified. However, the souls are ingrained on misery and transgression, so you find the person inflicting harm upon his brother. This hadith is considered to be one of the foundations of Sharia, that the Sharia does not attest to harm, and it denies inflicting of harm intensely. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. This concludes the hadith number 32.